Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
It is probably one of the most challenging things that you're going to have to do in life. And sometimes you do it to make yourself feel better after somebody has done something not so nice to you. I'm talking about forgiveness. It is scientifically proven that it's so beneficial to forgive, to let go. Doesn't mean you condone what somebody may have done, but you forgive them for it. Why would you do that? We're going to find out today. We're going to talk to somebody who helps a lot of people as the CEO and founder of the Hu'Mend Network, and she's also a coach and helps a lot of people. Great organization as well. Coach Key is with us. Welcome back, Coach. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing good. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. And before we even get into the forgiveness thing, I want you to, I know what you do, but you could better explain it. The Hu'Mend Network, the organization, who does it help?
So the organization Hu'Mend Network, it helps those youth and young adults in underserved communities who have been diagnosed with a mental disorder, and we teach them life skills. We have peer connections. We have connections to professionals in the industry, therapists, psychiatrists, and we also provide psychoeducation to caregivers and parents. It's a holistic approach in order to help the child to grow into being their authentic, unique self and not look at their diagnosis as a hindrance.
When we say mental challenges, what are the, just an example of some of the ones that you're talking about?
So we have children who have, ADHD. One major one is schizophrenia,
Okay.
and that's one of the more challenging ones. We have those with Asperger's, bipolar 1 disorder, bipolar 2 disorder, anxiety, depression. So it's a varying amount of diagnoses that are out there, and it's really good for the young person to have a community that surrounds them to give them that support that they need, because they're already dealing with the challenges of, peer pressure and going to school and trying to
Sure.
fit in and things of that nature. So it's good for them to have that support, because it's very much needed in order to protect them. We can't protect them from everything, but at least we're there to instill in them some knowledge that they can use when they're in situations that sometimes they may not know how to make the best decision.
And also, I would think to reaffirm that they're not alone. There,
No.
it's and would you say also that it's more prevalent than ever? And many of us don't realize that a lot of younger people are dealing with a lot of these challenges.
Mm-hmm. They are dealing with a lot of challenges. I remember us talking prior, you know, kids, they need a break, just like adults.
Yeah.
We talk about self-care and
Hmm.
what we need to do to decompress from the stresses of life. And I think sometimes we forget that they have stressors as well, and
Yeah.
they need to take a break, and they need to learn what self-care is like, what self-soothing is like. And most of the time they turn to social media to get that break, but then that opens up a whole different door to
Yep.
other challenges that they can be, exposed to, that can cause, even more anxiety and even more depression. So we need to, get back with connecting with our children, talking, taking those family vacations, having those family dinners, opening up the floor for conversation, even those taboo conversations when it comes to maturity and having that conversation. We as parents and as caretakers and as influencers, we need to be open and have that dialogue with them and make it a safe space so that they know that what you're experiencing, it's nothing new. I've been there.
Yeah.
listen to what it is that I have to say. And that's something that parents and, caregivers kind of shy away from, because sometimes we're afraid to really know what our children are doing. But
Mm-hmm.
but the reality is we really need to talk.
Yeah. And they all know it. they,
Hmm.
long time. They figured
Yes.
everything out here. But it's more
Yeah.
about just what you said, the dialogue. And I'm so glad you mentioned social media as somebody younger thinking, well, that's how I take my break. That's how that's my self-care. It's really not.
It's
It's
really not.
you need a break from social media as well.
You do.
So let's dig into forgiveness. So impactful, so important, not easy. Why? Let's go right to the basics here. Why is it so important to forgive?
Whew. Yeah. So there's an old adage that says that forgiveness is not for, the person that has betrayed you or done wrong against you.
Yep.
It's really for you, because it frees you from wanting to get revenge or holding a grudge or harboring hatred. And that's so important. But the thing that, for me, when I think about forgiveness, it's the needle that mends the soul. I mean, because you're opening yourself up to not only, freeing yourself from the offense, but you're freeing yourself of actually taking away the power that you've given to the other person for the offense. And another thing is, someone may offend you and they not even know that they offended you. And if you don't say something in the midst of the offense, for them, it could be like, give them a chance to apologize. I really didn't mean it like that. Like, that wasn't my intent at all. And that can open up the dialogue to respect and understanding and giving other people grace, because that's important, because we're human and human is subject to error. And so we have to be willing to say, I have my faults, you have your faults. Let's meet each other where we are and come to an agreement.
Mm. Let's say, let's go hypothetical here. Somebody
Hmm.
did you really wrong,
Ooh.
bad stuff, and it's talk to anybody, it's obvious. Whoa, that was horrible. Can't believe it. Could have been a life-changing situation. There it is. You're staring it in the face, and
Hmm.
you want to move on. Not easy to forgive. Sometimes you think you have, but then you realize, you get triggered, something comes up, and it's like,
Hmm.
how do you do it? How do you really just, send it off to the universe and get away? Done. Go away.
I have a quote for you, and it's
Oh,
one of my favorite quotes. It's by Nelson Mandela. And it says, as I walked out the door toward the gate that would lead to my freedom, I knew if I didn't leave my bitterness and hatred behind, I'd still be in prison.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
that's good. That's good
So,
stuff. Yeah.
so if you continue to harp on the negative and you can't let it go, you're trapping yourself in a prison, and so not healthy. And yes, I mean, let's talk about the let's talk about the ultimate betrayal for me. um Back in 2021, my nephew was murdered at the hands of his significant other. And
Wow.
I've known that I've, as they say, I've broken bread with this person. I've had conversations with her, and for her, that's the ultimate, for her to take his life. It took all of me to forgive something that was so I mean, it was just tragic. It was a disaster. It was a mess. I was in pieces. I reverted back to self-medicating, which was alcoholism. I've had my issues in the past with that, and I reverted back to that because I held on to so much anger. Because
I get it.
how
Wow.
how could this person that I know take a life that was so precious to me? And so I had to really just I had to, seek therapy, even dive deeper into grief therapy. I had to pull myself out of the trenches of discontinuing the self-soothing, and I had to forgive her. And I go back and forth with it still. Like, why should I forgive her for what she did? She took away someone that I love. Why should I forgive her? Like, that was the question, right? And I found myself, if I don't forgive, I'm just allowing the offense to eat away at me. And I'm not able to do the work that it is that I need to do. And from that situation, it's caused me to become an advocate for domestic violence, not just for women, but for men as well.
I'm so sorry you had to deal with that. And if it was somebody random off the street that created that horrific crime and event, it
Mm-hmm.
would be one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Put that over here for a moment. The fact that it was somebody that you were close to and let into your world and you were exposed, your heart and everything exposed to this person that did it, I feel makes it even so much more impactful that you have to, deal and forgive. Um,
Mm-hmm.
was there a moment in your journey of forgiveness of this person where one day you realized you had to do it, you had a massive cry or something, just like, and then it was just like, okay, I think I'm mostly good. Like you just said, sometimes it comes back every once in a while, but for
Mm-hmm.
the most part, did you have that moment where it was separate? You went through the gate, the Nelson
Mm-hmm.
Mandela gate, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm. You know, I had to realize that forgiving her didn't mean that I was weak. Forgiveness isn't something that makes you weak. I think a number of
Mm,
people look at forgiving as a form of weakness, which it's not. It takes courage. It
yeah.
really takes courage to forgive. And even though I haven't gotten an apology, there's no salve that's been put on the wound. And justice has not been served yet either. So I carry that this
Mm,
person is still walking around,
yeah.
living their life, and nothing has been done
Yeah.
to rectify what happened. I
Is it,
will,
can I jump in? I do want to say
yeah,
one
sure.
thing right at this
Yeah,
point.
yeah,
Do you feel that this person, you want them to realize what they did?
I do.
And your view, and I don't mean, just in all major situations,
Hmm.
um that you can't fathom that they're just living their life. It's like you just want to walk up and say, do you realize like
Hmm.
it just, and it's
Hmm.
just like you want to smack them upside the head. I don't mean violence, but it's just, and
Yeah,
figuratively, like, do you get it? Do you wake up in the middle of the night realizing what the hell you did?
yeah,
Or is it just like, well, it happened and I'm moving on with my life? Uh,
yeah.
do you feel that, in the forgiveness process, that's a big thing for you?
you know, um, honestly, it's still painful because I think about him and I think about his potential and I think about everything that could have been that is not. And I feel like he was robbed of that opportunity. And the thing about it is because it was a domestic situation, and it was a number of things that happened with that, where she would, call the police if they got into an argument and made it seem like he was the bad guy. He lost his life still being quote unquote the bad guy when it in fact was really her who started the disagreements, who started the fights, who hit him and who abused him. And he never hit her back because he was raised not to do so. But and then it's just painful because, and it's still painful and I still live with the pain, but I also know that, and my mother said it best, God rest her soul. My mother said it best. She said that there's so much potential for your life as well. And when you harbor unforgiveness in your heart, you are robbing yourself of that opportunity because you will lack the blessings. You will lack the opportunities because you're so self-indulged.
Yeah.
And you won't be able to recognize the things that are in front of you that you can make a difference. Use this situation as something that fuels you to make a change and to save somebody else's life.
Absolutely. And even, I'm not minimizing anything. Relationships take two.
Mm-hmm.
And even if she was having a challenge with him, she could have walked away. She could, same thing in a divorce. Instead of,
Yeah.
cheating and doing, stealing money and being dishonest, just say, I'm gonna walk away. It's, this is not working, and that's it. You always have, everybody has a choice.
Yes.
And to your point, Coach Key, we put all this emotion into what somebody did. But you said it. I think it's the best thing to be said. You're giving them your power. They don't
Mm-hmm.
care. They already moved
No.
on.
Yeah.
And they don't even care that you care. They're not even thinking
No.
about that
They don't even
anymore.
think about it. No, they
Because
don't think about
if they were so, I don't even know the proper word, but so horrible, if you will, to do what they did, they're not thinking about anybody except themselves.
it.
So
Exactly.
why give it to them? It's like you, me, everybody else in these situations, whatever the horrible, I'm talking horrible situations,
Mm-hmm.
life-changing situations.
Life-changing situations. Yeah.
We hand it, we're allowing them to do it. And
Yeah.
it's, that hurts too, that,
It does.
you don't want to. I know you don't. Dealing, I'm there. I get you. Not your
Yeah.
situation, but I got you. It's,
Yeah.
yeah, you don't want to do it. You just do it. And sometimes you
Yeah.
think, I'm good. And then all of a sudden, like you said, thank you for being honest. Sometimes it comes back. It's like,
It does.
yeah. And I wonder, the forgiveness thing, will it ever just go away? Will you always get the, every once in a while something comes back, gets better, I guess, over time? I'll tell you this. I've learned that hypnotherapy can help you with forgiveness. I didn't even know it
It
was a
does.
thing, you
I
know?
know. It's awesome. I'm glad, and I'm so glad that you brought that up because that was one of the techniques that I used in therapy as well.
Fantastic.
And it I believe that without it, the road to recovery would have been
Longer.
longer,
Yeah.
very longer. And I think it's kind of like a taboo when it comes to hypnotherapy because a lot of people really don't understand it because they're used to seeing, things on television where someone's been hypnotized and they
Yeah.
do all these radical things when really it's not. It's really a good technique
Sure.
to overcoming a number of things, weight loss,
Smoking.
self-confidence,
Sure.
self-doubt, all of
Yeah.
these things. Yeah.
And to your point, a lot of us, because of TV, think that you see, on a sitcom, bark like a dog, cluck like a chicken. You're not going to do something that you would not normally do. You're not giving up
Yeah.
your social security number, your bank numbers, your credit card, all of that. And when
Yes.
somebody puts you under hypnosis, all they're doing is allowing you to tap the subconscious in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. They're giving you the keys to open the
Yes.
door to get in there and realize what is actually going on. It's not that they can't control you. So yeah, as I understand it, and I've done hypnotherapy. Let's see, probably 3 times. Actually, doing it tomorrow. It's
Nice.
been a long time. Um, you, it's usually the last thing that people try.
It is, and it's so, I mean, and it takes real courage to tap into that subconscious, because you go in for one thing, and then when you're under, you discover that it's a number of things that has happened in your past from childhood trauma that you can see that's related to the way that you've responded,
Yeah.
in real time when
Hmm.
you're conscious. And that's why it's so healing to utilize hypnotherapy and therapy together. And you definitely have to go in with an open mind,
Yeah.
because when you come from under, you definitely feel a difference, and you definitely notice it in your everyday life that that helped. I think I want to do that again. So I really commend you for being open and doing it and sticking with it, and using the tools that they provide to you as a source of self evolution.
Why not? And
Yeah.
some of us don't have it figured out. It took me time to figure it out, but the first time I had hypnotherapy, I said, "All right, we're good. Here, take me back to my childhood,
Yeah.
transport me back."
Yeah.
And for 99.99% of us, the challenges that we have in life, 0 to 7, when you were a kid, it was all placed in there.
Yeah.
Experiences that you had, all of that. And I was just, all
Yeah.
right, go back. And yeah, sometimes it can get emotional. Sometimes it's, a little uncomfortable, but you learn a
Mm-hmm.
lot.
You do.
But again, nobody's controlling your mind. I've often heard this too, that if you're trying to forgive somebody, and it sounds so simple, but spend an hour and write your thoughts down, your forgiveness, like you're writing them a letter. You're not sending it, you're putting it aside. But same thing why journaling is so important,
Journaling is important.
right?
I remember that I experienced, it was part of my healing journey. When my nephew was murdered, I attended Dia los Muertos, which is Day of the Dead. It's a big thing in the Hispanic community. And so they celebrate, it's a celebration, and I attended just to it was so transformative.
Mm.
And there was there was uh, an opportunity where you could go into a tent and you can write letters to your loved ones that have passed on.
Wow.
And I wrote a letter to my uncle who sexually molested me, and I forgave him. I wrote a letter, and I wrote down how it hurt me, but I also wrote down how much I loved him. I also wrote down, I forgive you. I don't know what, space you were in at that time in your life. And I let it go.
Mm.
And writing that letter was so, like I said, transformative, because you take it, and then after you write it, they burn it. And so it's released into the atmosphere. It's gone. The offense is gone.
Wow. I was even thinking the same thing, because there's also, a technique where you could visualize what it is, and it's in your mind. and you think deep about it and you put it into a balloon and you're releasing it. So saying exactly what you're saying, where you burn it. And when you write that letter, did you notice some things that weren't 100% clear in your mind? Because our minds are always doing this all over the place.
Yeah.
Some stuff came a little clearer.
There was a lot of things that became very clear. I cried. It was a very somber moment, but I humbled myself to the experience and I allowed it to free me because I needed to be free from that.
Yeah. Goes right back to the quote that you shared from Nelson Mandela. Whoa. I wrote down Nelson Mandela, prison, and Gates, because I'm going to Google it and I'm going to put it up on the wall.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding.
Yes.
Because it says it
awesome.
all. And it could be just some random quote and it's still fantastic. Coming from that gentleman and his history and what he stood for. Whew,
I know.
Powerful.
Powerful man.
Yeah. Thank you so much for today. Forgive me for not having more time. We're out of time.
So before I leave, though, I just wanted to leave you with another quote.
Please do.
And this is by the great Martin Luther King Jr. Forgiveness does not mean ignoring what has been done or putting a false label on an evil act. It means rather that the evil act no longer remains as a barrier to the relationship. Forgiveness is a catalyst creating the atmosphere necessary for a fresh start and a new beginning.
Wow. Yeah, there you go. And which is the reason why you should forgive.
It is.
Yeah. It's funny you should say that. I went to a U2 tribute concert last month. And when they did Pride, and the song, it was just like, it just moves you. And especially seeing somebody perform it live, spot on, like U2, even the lead singer looked like Bono. I mean, it was just like,
oh, wow.
Wow. And just like that song is just like, touch it, what it means,
about... Bono is a fabulous, like he's a phenomenal person too, with the challenges and everything that he's faced. Sure. Strong guy.
Yeah. If somebody wants to learn more about the network, the organization, where do they find you?
So they can find me at the Hu'Mend Network, www.humendnetwork.com. And feel free to send me an email, and that's Coach Key. That's KYCOACHKY at humendnetwork.com.
Thank you for today. Thank you for your transparency and honesty in your journey of forgiveness, because I believe it helps the rest of us. And I appreciate you and look forward next time we get a chance to get together.
I'm looking forward to it. It's so nice. It's always nice to talk to you.
You too. Thanks a lot.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, I mean, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.